When was the last time you were at home with yourself doing nothing? When was the last time you sat in your aloneness to give yourself, your life, the moment, some thought, some contemplation? Lately, I've been thinking about the intimacy of being home because a lot of times we're working. We're attending to our responsibilities. Weekends, perhaps some are running, getting out and about from errands to brunch and catching up with friends. There's so much to do in our lives. Have you ever thought about how the many things that we have to do often prevent us from doing the one thing that we crave, which is to be still, to be quiet, to reflect? That's how we grow. That's how we learn the way of who we are, what's behind our thoughts, our actions, our behavior, the patterns that we engage. When we are like a hamster on the wheel going and going, it's hard to rest, to renew. It's like taking the vacation. When you return home, you need a vacation from your vacation because you were doing it all. You were sightseeing, you were filling your days. You had an itinerary from the top of the day to the bottom of the evening. And then you come home and it's back to work, back to the roles and responsibilities. Where is the rest, the pause, the sitting to give yourself to yourself? Is that missing for you? Some people are actually afraid of that quiet. They're afraid of what may show up for them, what thoughts they might think, what feelings they might feel, what truth might rise to the surface. And so they fill their days, their moments, until life brings them to a forced pause, in which case it becomes harder to be in the quiet stillness. It becomes harder to reflect and contemplate the vastness of our lives because now we're having to attend to the thing that forced us to pause. That's very different from taking a pause. So today I'm wanting to plant that seed, to invite you to think about the intimacy of being home with yourself, being in close connection and relationship to who you are, to know yourself well and deeply. Because when we do that, we access something deeply within. We get information that helps us to navigate the journey of our life. And even if sitting in the quiet should bring things that are uncomfortable to the surface, trust that you have the ability to meet the moment. Trust that you possess all that you need within yourself to be present for what's coming from within yourself. Nothing is missing. It's like within us, we have both the questions and the answers. A lot of times we feel disconnected from the answer. We feel like we lack clarity. It's hard to make certain decisions. It's hard to interrupt our patterns of behavior. Many things are hard when we do not carve out the time to just sit and listen and be, to pay attention to what shows up, to make ourselves available to hear, to receive right guidance. Things do not just knock on the door. We have to be intentional in our lives. That's a practice. It isn't always easy. And yet it's something that's very important for us to do. To be intentional, to carve out the time, to look within. When was the last time you paid yourself real attention and not pressed between things, not running on fumes, but truly awake to yourself? Because it's so easy for us to be there for others. Somehow we make ourselves so generous when it comes to others, and we put ourselves off for some time later. Oh, I don't need to think. I don't need to sit and be. I'll do that sometime later. But what about this time now? And are we not most deserving of our time and attention? Does it not allow us to be more present in our lives when we choose to be present for ourselves in our lives? This is why journaling is a very, very useful tool, because it allows us to focus on getting the inside out. A lot of people say, I don't know what to write about. It's very interesting how you can sit with a notebook and a pen and things just come out. You can start by jotting down your day. Maybe there was some aspect of your day that caught you. Maybe someone said or did something that brings you to a pause. Maybe you're upset and you want to process that. Being able to give ourselves to ourselves is how we grow and evolve forward. It's how we become better people for ourselves and those around us, those we love. And it's unfortunate that this isn't something most people are taught. On the contrary, most people are taught to do more. Fill up your day, stay busy. What is the saying? Something like an idle mind is the devil's playground. So let's just be busy, busy, busy so that we do not have an idle mind. But guess what? Now you don't know how to sit and be with a clear mind. Just because we're not busy doesn't mean the mind is idle. Imagine if we never slept. So when we sleep, does that mean the body is idle and not doing what it needs to do? We need that rest for the recharge, for the restoration, for the activity that happens in the brain and the body, for the healing, for the ability to wake up the next day and do it all over again. So to be still doesn't mean we're being idle. It can very well point to practicing being present. Otherwise, how does one clear the clutter of their minds? How does one sift through all of the residual, all of the dust, the gunk that builds? The resentments, the anxieties, the pains, the pressures, the weight. How do you release that if you do not pause to notice it, to turn in its direction and say, you're still there. Of course, I'm still here. You haven't noticed me. You haven't worked through my presence to allow me an exit, a peaceful exit. You've been busy doing all of the things and not the one thing that is truly, truly needed, that really holds meaning and purpose, which is to clean the mind, to clear the clutter, to release and let go, to reflect on who we are and how we show up, how we move through the world, what we value, our priorities. There is deep and rich intimacy to being home in our aloneness. And if it's not something you've practiced, not something you've allowed yourself to do, I invite you to do it. Give it some thought. And when I say give it thought, I mean active thought, like take action. Even if it's for an hour, time goes by rather quickly. Oh, I don't have time for that. You know, we often don't have time for things we need to have time for until we have all the time because life forced us. Take the time before your time is taken. Go for a walk even. Not listening to anything, not preoccupied with even a podcast, just being with your thoughts. Who are you? How are you moving through your life? Where is your time spent? Your attention placed? What are you doing? Who are you being and becoming? We grow more closely to the knowing of those things when we take the time to actually be with ourselves. It's not something we can outsource. It's something that comes from within. And when we learn how to practice living from that inner place, from the wisdom that rests at our core, we move through life with clarity. We're less likely to lean on others to have the answer to our life's equation, but we go within and we can access what is true because we've spent time cultivating truth within ourselves. We've spent time with ourselves, intimately so. That's why they say intimacy is into me, I see. But how can we see into ourselves if we're constantly on the go? So this is a moment to come to pause, come to presence, come to reflection and contemplation, to remind yourself that you are deserving of your time and attention. And beyond deserve, it's essential to the fullness and wholeness of who you are. And there's no one more important than accessing you. No one other than you. You hold great capacities. And so when you sit with yourself, because I'm going to put that out there, that you are going to take the time to sit with yourself. When you sit with yourself, you will begin to open the channels to your own depth, your own wisdom, your own guidance. And you will begin to allow yourself to expand and evolve beyond. And no one is more deserving of accessing that than you.